March 2025, a quiet announcement echoed through the skincare world. Apostrophe, the once undisputed darling of teledermatology, is shutting down permanently. To the thousands of users who relied on its personalized formulas, it felt like a sudden betrayal. But to the analysts on Wall Street, it was just another day of corporate housekeeping. Just 4 years ago, Apostrophe was the gold standard. It was acquired by the telehealth titan Hims and Hers for a staggering $190 million. It had the doctors, the pharmacies, and the most aesthetic packaging in the game. It was positioned perfectly for a world that no longer wanted to sit in a doctor's waiting room. So how does a company go from a $990 million crown jewel to a defunct URL in less than 4 years? To understand the death of Apostrophe, we have to look past the glowing skin and into the cold, ruthless mechanics of a corporate pivot. Apostrophe didn't start as a giant. It started in 2012 in a Berkeley apartment as Yoderm. The mission was simple: bypass the months-long wait times for a dermatologist. You upload a photo, a doctor reviews it, and your prescription arrives in the mail. In 2019, they rebranded. They dropped the clunky Yoderm name for the sophisticated Apostrophe. They moved from being a tech middleman to a full-stack clinical experience. They weren't just selling medicine. They were selling the luxury of professional care from your couch, and it worked. The growth was so explosive it caught the eye of Hims and Hers, a company trying to become the Amazon of healthcare. In 2021, the deal was inked: $990 million. At the time, Hims and Hers promised that Apostrophe would remain independent, a specialized boutique under a massive umbrella. It was the ultimate founder's dream: the exit, the capital, and the autonomy. But in business, autonomy is a luxury that only lasts as long as the parent company is winning. The first cracks didn't appear on the skin. They appeared on the balance sheet. After the acquisition, the world changed. The post-pandemic e-commerce boom slowed down, but more importantly, a new titan arrived in the medical world: GLP-1. You know them as Ozempic and Wegovy. For Hims and Hers, these weight loss drugs weren't just a new product line. They were a drug, a financial drug. The demand was so massive that Hims and Hers shifted almost their entire strategic weight toward this market. They began selling compounded versions of these drugs, exploiting a loophole allowed by the FDA during national shortages. Suddenly, the dermatology business, Apostrophe's heart and soul, looked small. While Apostrophe was fighting for a piece of the acne market, Hims and Hers was chasing a multi-billion-dollar weight loss gold rush. Resources shifted. Marketing budgets moved. The boutique skincare brand was becoming a distraction. Then the second crack: operational inefficiency. Hims and Hers already had its own dermatology department. By keeping Apostrophe as an independent brand, the company was essentially running two of everything: 2 marketing teams, 2 customer support systems, 2 different supply chains. In a bull market, this is called brand diversity. In a bear market, it's called bloat. The crash happened in slow motion. And then all at once, in late 2024, the FDA made a series of announcements. The national shortages of branded weight loss drugs were ending. This was a catastrophic signal for Hims and Hers. Their compounded business model, the one driving their stock price to the moon, was suddenly under existential threat. The stock market reacted violently. Volatility spiked. The mandate from the board was clear: streamline, cut the fat, protect the core. Apostrophe, with its high overhead and specialized niche, was no longer a crown jewel. It was a liability. There was also a brand misalignment that no one wanted to admit in 2021. Apostrophe positioned itself around skincare and beauty. It was aspirational. Hims and Hers, meanwhile, was pivoting toward being a serious healthcare tech platform. They wanted to be seen as a pharmacy, not a beauty counter. Apostrophe's aesthetic, the very thing that made it famous, now made it an outsider in its own house. The decision was cold. They didn't sell Apostrophe. They didn't try to find it a new home. They simply turned it off. The brand was being evicted. The $990 million investment? Written off in favor of operational efficiency. So what is the autopsy report on Apostrophe? It wasn't a product failure. People still have acne. People still want teledermatology. It was a failure of integration and strategic scale. First, the independent brand trap. Founders often negotiate to keep their brand independent after an acquisition. They think it protects their vision, but in reality, it often marks them for death. Independent brands are the first things to be cut during a recession because they are the easiest to consolidate. Second, the niche ceiling. Apostrophe was brilliant at what it did, but acne and rosacea have a limited market cap compared to the holy grail drugs like Ozempic. When you are owned by a public company, being profitable and beloved isn't enough. You have to be scalable and essential. And finally, the external ripple effect. Apostrophe's death was collateral damage of a weight loss drug war it wasn't even fighting. Apostrophe's story is a warning to every entrepreneur who thinks the acquisition is the finish line. When you sell your company, you aren't just taking a check. You are handing the steering wheel of your life's work to someone else. And if that person decides to change directions, or if they hit a wall, they won't hesitate to throw your dream out the window to save the car. Apostrophe didn't disappear because it lost its relevance. It disappeared because it lost its usefulness to a parent company that had found a bigger, shinier, and more dangerous game to play. In the end, clear skin was no match for a clear balance sheet.